we have ignition. All right, good evening, everyone. You're listening to RedPill78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News for Saturday. Ooh, it's Friday. Friday night live stream. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We have a couple of very special guests in the house tonight. I'm going to introduce them to everybody in just a moment, but first, we are going to go through the list and say hello to everybody in the chat. We have lots of Patriots here with us tonight. I see people in the audience that have already said they're from Oklahoma. I saw Michigan. I see Northern Oregon, Pensacola, Florida. Let's see, Idaho. Who else is here? Yes, and the one and only Methods is with us in the house tonight. Florida. Let's see, SoCal, Florida again, Florida, Missouri, Florida, Tennessee, Rochester, Oregon, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Iowa, Oregon again, another MAGA muffin from Michigan, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, North Florida, Minnesota, New Jersey. Not seeing any World Patriots tonight. Let's see. I'm waiting for some Australias here. South Korea. There we go. Somebody from South Korea. South Carolina, Louisiana, New Jersey, Ohio, southeastern Michigan, Tennessee, North Carolina, Norfolk, Virginia, Jacksonville, Florida, Amarillo, Texas, Truckee, California, Lubbock, Texas, Philly, Pennsylvania, Syracuse, Annapolis, Maryland, home of the clowns in America, Ohio, Arkansas, Los Angeles, Connecticut, and the list goes on and on. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us tonight. Please let me know if we have good quality in the stream. Looks like YouTube is spinning the wheels on me. I don't get a preview right now for whatever reason. But first of all, I just wanted to introduce all of my guests for the evening. We have a very special roundtable for you tonight. We have Hulkanator from Patriot News. We also have Spaceshot76 and Truth Not Fiction Matters himself, Matthew. So please, Hulkanator, give a hello to the audience.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in YouTube world. It's good to hear you. Thank you guys for all showing up over here at the stream at Red.
And Spaceshot76, give a 5x5.
How's it going, everybody, tonight? How's it going, World Patriots? Glad everybody could join in and support RedPill78 and the World Patriots. Glad to be here tonight.
Glad to have you. And finally, my good friend from Truth Not Fiction Matters, Matthew. How are you tonight?
Unya.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Well, let's see. Very, very pleased to have you guys here. I was actually a guest last night on Patriot News with these fine fellows, and we had quite the conversation, about 2.5 hours of breaking down the news. And the wonderful thing about this glorious 24-hour news cycle that we live in today, it never ends. It absolutely never ends. There are stories upon stories upon stories. And one of the first stories that I wanted to touch upon today was this right here. There has been an arrest made in the murder of the former state senator from Arkansas. And I do need to say thank you to Michael Kenny. Michael, I saw that super chat from earlier as well. Thank you, buddy. Guys, did you hear about this? Did you hear about this story that there was an arrest made in the murder of Linda Collins Smith? It's a woman that she was apparently acquainted with. Her name is Becky O'Donnell.
I've heard about this. I've been kind of following the story because one of my members over at Patriot News is a angel mom and is associated with this with one of the ladies that's connected to this senator. She was actually with her a couple hours before, so we're putting together some information about her story and her contact with this fallen Arkansas person.
So what was she doing with her a couple hours before? Was Linda Collins Smith working on something having to do with the Angel Moms project?
I think they're associated with friends. It seems like it's two different organizations on this. So I'm trying to put together the timeline of what they're doing. We weren't able to say anything about it, but as this has already come out at this point, so the dam's already broken. So I'm actually waiting for her to start DMing me more information because she just got it a few minutes ago.
All right. I would be very interested to know if your contact is, if she knows this woman, Becky Randolph, at all. If she, was involved in any other things that Linda Collins Smith was doing. Was this a political connection? Was this a personal friend connection? Were they locals in the area? But she was arrested tonight by the Arkansas State Police, and she was taken into custody on Highway 62 West. And it says in the article, the location of the arrest is of significance since the visitation for Collins was happening at the same time on Highway 62 West at the Sutton Free Will Baptist Church. So it kind of sounds like this woman was attending her service and was arrested.
Yeah, there's a lot of info coming out. I want to say hello to Captain Roy. Shout out to Captain Roy in the chat. But I got good news, Red Pill. Matt Couch is on the ground on this case, and he's going to be reporting on the ground later on, I think, beginning of next week. So I'm kind of Matt Couch with America First Media Group, and he sent me a text over right before the show tonight. So I'm looking forward to see what they come up with.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Anytime Matt Couch gets involved, you know that it's going to be some quality reporting.
And hey, Hulkanator, did you want to go into a little in-depth, or not too in-depth, but I mean, we were given a little bit of information just as we went offline last night about, how they had found the body and whatnot. I don't know if you're allowed to speak on.
On which one? I'm sorry, I was reading a DM. I apologize.
Miss Collins Smith, how she was, well, basically how they said that they had found her in the driveway. I guess her family had wrapped her.
Yeah, I heard that. I couldn't put it together, and Red Pill quickly. The other lady I was talking to, it's a close friend, is what I'm hearing on this, and I'm waiting to put together some information once I get a little bit more. But that's the connection for it. It's a personal. But I was thinking, if we follow the timeline with the lady, because I've seen pictures of these two people together that's 2 weeks old. So from the time of her death, of finding it. So I think they put a gag order on her, told everybody not to say anything for about a week and a half, and then the news came out because from the news reports I saw about the senator that it was very hard to identify the body, and that normally means that it's been sitting around for a while. And hearing that they were found outside, wrapped in a blanket, and then brought into the residence and then reported later, this is just too many coincidences that seem very weird.
That's just bizarre. I mean, I was aware that most likely she had been in there for about 2 weeks, but you're saying that she was killed outside, or maybe, perhaps, killed outside, wrapped up by the family and brought into the home?
That's what Spaceshot is talking about. And I remember them mentioning it real quick as we were ending the end of the show, and I got kind of busy right there in the end.
Yeah, I believe it was Gold. Correct me if I'm wrong, Hulkanator, if that's who it was. I believe it was Gold Star Mom who she came in and said basically she couldn't talk about it until yesterday, and that the family had found her dead in the driveway, and they did wrap her up and bring her in the house. Which, as Red Pill said, that is very odd in itself. And if this lady is, a close personal friend of hers, who knows if they had any type of, MK Ultra action on it. And one thing, guys, I'll just add, I don't know if we're going to have the same drop-off problem as we sometimes have on the dual stream, but I notice you're kind of capping off at the very end, Hulkanator, so I'll give that an extra hold on the push to talk, guys.
Okay, so a little bit more information. I'm hearing somebody just told me that she was killed inside the residence and drug outside. And this also was said to me, and I haven't read it yet. Let me read it before, make sure it doesn't have any bad.
Well, we do know that she was, I guess on the cusp of breaking open a pedophile ring. Ooh, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that.
Yeah, don't.
Certain ring, a podiatrist ring down there. So, and she was quite integral, and supposedly one of the other senators that former senators that passed away apparently may have been as well. So, it's that same familiar thing. all these people that are getting close to breaking something open on these people, and then you end up finding them deceased.
Well, can I just interject? I mean, that's kind of why I want to wait to maybe get nothing wrong with some of the information, but you don't want to speculate, especially with, so many folks. But anyway, I think Matt Couch will get to the bottom of it. They're usually pretty good at that. And I'm going to wait to see what they come up with on the ground, actually talking to witnesses, etc.
I'll be very interested to see what that reporting consists of. I just noticed that Exploding Pumpkin Productions in the chat said that she had hard evidence, pictures and videos, etc. If there is anyone in the audience who has any information on this story, by all means, do please send me an email, because something I've been following for the last couple weeks. I haven't been lucky enough to hear from any sources, you guys. I'm a little jealous, but I'm very, very excited that we're going to get some type of information about this. This is a case that it started out strange, and it's just been getting weirder and weirder. Now, I wanted to move on to that story about another NYPD police officer that's been found as a suicide, this time in Staten Island. Actually, this is the second one on Staten Island, if I'm not mistaken. But it's the third officer to commit suicide in 9 days.
Yes, this is not looking good. 9 days, 3 of them, all at NYPD. You had your chief, you had the other investigator, and then this new guy. And the investigator was out of Brooklyn, is what I found out. And that was the same district that Mr. Anthony Weiner served his halfway house after he got out of jail. That's the same area there. So I'm still looking for the information. We're digging on it today. I'm trying to figure out which district had access to the insurance file on the laptop that originally started all of it, to see if I can connect the arresting department with any one of our NYPD guys to put some nails in this particular story.
I have to say, that was the first thing that I thought when I saw these New York police officer deaths taking place. I mean, it screams Wiener laptop. And I know that it's not public, the chain of custody, whoever had these had access to this laptop and the insurance files on it. But, just thinking back to the posts, from NYPD and on, it seemed like it was a sizable group of people that would have had access to this, or maybe it started off small and then it was shared amongst a group of NYPD officers.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that they would probably do that, right? I mean, people that had access to it would probably see it, and then from what everybody said, they were disgusted. And there was at least one, if not two, other NYPD detectives, and forgive me for forgetting the guy's last name, but President Trump, he had that rally, or the, I guess, press conference out in the open where he had the wife last summer, I believe it was. So I think those two were related as well. And yeah, it doesn't add up too good for these guys. They're obviously trying to cover something up. I think we all know what that might be.
Oh, yeah, there was that female officer who was working in that, kiosk on the street. She was gunned down.
Yeah, there was actually 2, because Q pointed us to that on the Q post that says go back and look at Midsummer 2017 for 2 officers, kill box 187. And one of them was at that Trump rally. I believe that was the grandmother. I don't think it was the mom, but it was the grandmother. But there's that picture of her putting her head on the back of Trump as he's speaking.
Yes. I believe there was another one of her holding his hand. I do need to say thank you to Jeff Stewart also for that super chat. Thanks, buddy. Glad you're here. All right, so let's see. So it looks like he was found by an off-duty cop. I don't know if that means that it was a friend, supposedly, that went over there and found him, or perhaps this is somebody who's not a good person that maybe helped him get where he is today now. But it's too strange to ignore. And since June 5th, three suicides. Deputy Chief Stephen Silks, 62. He fatally shot himself not longer after filing his retirement papers. This is also the second one that was very near to retirement, isn't it?
Yep, and this is supposedly the one that's connected to the laptop that a lot of
Yep.
people are talking about. That was that night, and then the next morning we got the report of the other guy. He was missing, and
Yep.
they were doing water rescue out in the river, and then they found the car in the parking lot, and we know the rest of that story.
Now, has anyone heard any? There was another police officer that was supposedly boating with his wife. This was not in New York, I believe. This was someplace else. But I believe, I mean, the water rescue is what reminded me of it. But I hadn't heard anything about it other than he had been on his boat. He was with his wife. He went overboard, and then they were trying to locate him. Have you guys heard anything else about that?
That was in Texas, and
Okay.
from what I'm hearing is that there was a wake that had come by and had knocked him out of the boat, and then he never came up for air or anything. I didn't hear about the wife thing, so that tells me that it's recreational and that he wasn't actually out there working with full gear. Because I'm thinking, all right, if he's out there working full gear with all his gun belt and everything, and he fell in the water, I can understand him not coming up. But that definitely sounds recreational to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Very strange. Very, very strange. So let's see. This is another article about it. This is the outside of his home right here. He was this NYPD cop. The second one here. This is Officer Ralph Condi, 33. He was supposed to go to the department's firing range in the morning for qualification reasons, and then he didn't show up. And it was a cop from the 121st precinct who found him around 10:50 a.m.
And one of these three, I can't remember, I haven't had enough time to dig into it, but one of the three was a special sexual crimes victims deal. So he's the one that actually deals with it. I can't remember which one of the three it is.
Was that Calabrese?
Calabrese was the one that went missing second. He was the one that they couldn't locate for a little bit.
I do know the first two have been at PD long enough to be around the same time as the laptop. Now, this new guy, I'm not sure if his timeline fits long enough to be with the NYPD to be roped into the same thing. Because normally, Special Task Force, because I went digging into the beginning of the Wiener deal, and it was a special task force that went after him for the sexting issue. And then again, I'm trying to correlate these other guys to this investigation.
Man, did he ever get the right name, huh?
You guys, I had. Did you happen to see this Donald Trump speaking in the Rose Garden earlier this afternoon? He was speaking on the healthcare expansions.
I missed that today.
Okay. Well, I have a clip of it that I wanted to play, just a segment, and I do apologize. You guys are not going to be able to hear it. What I'm going to do is drop this into the chat so that you guys can pull it up and just go straight to the 6-minute mark and listen to what the president says here. And I'm just going to play this for the audience very briefly.
And that other detective, guys, I looked it up real quick, was Detective Famil.
And we're going to have another big announcement in 2 weeks, unrelated, but something that's going to have a profound effect on the things that we're talking about and have been talking about over the last 2.5 years. It's going to be something really incredible. That'll take place over the next 2 weeks. That'll be a very big announcement. Nobody knows what it is. It's going to be a big surprise, but it's going to be a very pleasant one. No American should be blindsided.
All right, audience. Did you just hear that? My guests, were you able to get to the 6-minute mark on that video?
Yeah, the big surprise coming out in about 2 weeks. I mean, if he was talking about medical, could be one thing. But
Nope.
when he said that 2.5 years, we know what he's talking about.
Yes. He said we've been talking about it for the last 2.5 years, unrelated to the medical announcement that they had today. Incredible. And you guys, it looks like I have lost my chat again. This happened to me last week. I was unable to see the chat from anybody on the live chat. Let me see if I can refresh my screen here. I have lost internet connectivity again.
You're still live. I still see it rolling here. You're going still. Must be that new censorship.
Yeah, I'm live, but I'm unable to interact with the audience. Audience, I'm so sorry. I am not going to be able to see the chat. Let me see if I can get this pulled up on my phone, and we'll be able. I can follow along that way, hopefully. But I'm sorry, no one will be able to see the chat on the screen any longer. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so Donald Trump announcing that in 2 weeks there will be a big announcement, and nobody knows what it is. I mean, it could honestly be any number of, things having to do with this, but I tend to think that the biggest thing that Donald Trump needs to take care of, and that we need to have announced, is probably going to be related to something in regards to indictments of Hillary Clinton. We've already been told that Huber is done. He's handed his information over to Durham for the indictment process, for the charging. So I'm really crossing my fingers here and hoping that that's what it is, that it's going to be an announcement of some type of criminal action against crooked Hillary and perhaps her campaign.
How about?
I'm kind of thinking. No, go ahead, Space Shot.
I'm usually really quick, anyways. Post 1199 from our famous friendly Anon. It was in regards to a question about Seth.
Verse. So that means that first post that we saw, suggesting, or, one of those very first ones suggesting that HRC had been arrested, is actually it's in the future. Future proves past.
Just to give you a quick heads up that your stream went off and came right back on, but I still see your chat still.
All right, so we're back online.
Yes, we've been live the whole time, but it was weird. It went to offline, but we're back up and running, so
all
they're
right.
still hearing us.
Sorry about that, folks. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, it looks like we're back. Okay, we're back. Excellent. So we were talking about the fact that Mike, you want to go back over that post again?
Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, it was in 99, I believe. It was in regards to somebody was asking, when are we going to see answers about Seth Rich and Julian Assange? And then it said, SR, June, and then it said JA. So as we do know, they are, heavily connected. That was the assumption, and that's even in the Mueller report that, they totally disregard, Seth Rich, obviously, and they say, oh, well, the Russians hacked it. WikiLeaks passed it out, but they don't mention the fact that we all know about the upload speeds. It was impossible for somebody to do it over the lines. So we need Julian Assange to basically prove that, it wasn't Seth Rich doing it, or excuse me, it was Seth Rich doing it, or somebody at the terminal itself, not over the airlines like they said it was hacked.
Right, and that's what Bill Benny was talking about with that other gentleman, Red Pill. I mentioned that last night, in fact. And also, I'm going to go ahead and give them a shout out. The America First Media Group has been saying that for over 2 years, and they were sued. They're the same group that also proved that, Donna Brazil, who claimed to be in Seattle, which she really wasn't, her and the mayor were in the hospital the night that SR was rolled in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason that they found that out, right, Matt, is that she forgot to turn off her location services when she put out her tweet. And, she had, that's hilarious, right? And she, denied it and said, might have been a staffer or something like that. But, we had other people, and Matt Couch had reported that you even had police in the area saying, well, listen, all you got to do is pull the phone records, then you'd find out exactly where she was. So, yeah, they're skewing everything in their favor. Just like the stupid question, President Trump, would you take information? And you even had Andy McCabe coming out saying, everything that they do is just peachy keen. Everything's fine. Anything that President Trump does is bad. And just like this server thing, they just totally disregard it. They don't look into it because they don't want the mainstream people knowing that it was absolute farce all about this, WikiLeaks or somebody hacking into the servers. Absolute BS.
Well, speaking of Andrew McCabe, he seems to be getting pretty nervous. I mean, he was out there today talking about the need to start impeachment proceedings against President Trump, and he used the word immediately. Immediately. Do you think that Andy McCabe is really feeling the heat? He knows that they are hot on his heels, and he's probably going to see the inside of a jail cell?
Yeah, that's one of those Mortal Kombat. Whoopsie.
Well, I'm thinking to your previous comment when Trump was saying his 2 week deal, the 2.5 weeks or whatever, that he's going to come out with some info that he's dealing with 2.5 years ago. To be honest with you, I think it's either going to start with McCabe or Comey. One of those two guys leaking to the media, shining the light that shows that the media was complicit in the entire story, getting paid by them. We already had the 60 names that were supposedly between the FBI and the actual media. So if he's talking about something about fake news and going to punch some holes in it versus doing a Clinton deal, I think this would be a right time to come out right at McCabe. You're leaking out to the media, and they can start tying the dossier and how it came out.
Great point, Hawk. And also to Mr. Orr, that 30 some odd thousand plus dollars you got, I hope you didn't use that for your legal defense. And yeah, what about Comey? He can't even sell enough books to, fill up a phone book.
Hey, speaking of books, guys, did you hear about Acosta's book signing? I heard that it was held in a telephone.
Wait, say that again. It was held in a what, Mike?
Sorry, my button slipped. I heard it was held in a telephone booth, and it was plenty of space, wide open. Yeah, they said there was literally like nobody there.
What's the name of his book?
Oh, believe me, I didn't go down that rabbit hole. I could give two craps about him.
I'm pretty sure it's called The Enemy of the People, isn't it?
I'll take a look quick, but yeah, it's something along those lines.
Well, it kind of sounds like a Joe Biden rally. I mean, the guy can't even fill a hotel lobby room for his little freaking speech that he did.
And what about Joe Biden and his son Hunter? His son Hunter had a girlfriend, broke up with her, and then immediately married another woman like 10 days later. What is happening in the minds of these people, you guys? It's like they are screaming out to legitimize themselves. Like Biden is trying to create this like wholesome image. They've tried to do a couple of quick fixes on the things that he's said, his inappropriate actions, and then, tries to marry his son off so that, he can create this political dynasty. But it just makes them look even creepier. The fact that you would get married 10 days after meeting a woman, it screams insanity.
I got one better than that. How about his recent speech? We might want to pull that up, buddy. Him telling the crowd, if you elect me in 2020, I'm going to cure cancer.
What? I will find that. On the screen right now, on the subject of Joe Biden, I have a post that someone threw up yesterday, and it's showing Joe Biden's changing appearance. And President Trump was talking about this recently. He said, Joe, he doesn't look the same, he doesn't talk the same, he doesn't move the same, and a lot of people have taken it, as a clue that this is not the same Joe Biden. Now, I tend to agree that it's not the same Joe Biden because, he's older. He's like Nancy Pelosi. He's past the sell-by date. But he's had a lot of work. But have you guys taken a look at this post comparing the old Biden to the new Biden?
Yeah, we did it over on our channel for a little bit, and we came to the conclusion that he's had extensive plastic surgery. And one of the people were talking about the way they do these large pieces around the ear that actually they pulled his face so far back and re-sewn it into the bottom of the earlobe to help it look like a smoother transition, is what we were hearing from our side in the group that we put together.
I tend to agree with you. I mean, I'm not one of these people that believes necessarily that there are clones of these people walking around. I'm not going to say that because I don't know that. I believe that, it's very possible that they could have cloning technology. I mean, they did it with dogs, they did it with sheep. I'm sure they've done it with a lot of other things. But I think it's a lot more likely that Joe Biden has just had extensive plastic surgery.
Yeah, and you look at the inner earlobe, as Hulk was saying,
I do need to say thank you to White Hat. White Hat said he sent a pic of Colin's tweet. I'll take a look for that, White Hat. Also, thank you for the super chat. July 4th, coming soon. July 4th is a little more than 2 weeks out, but, there's a lot of talk about July 4th. We had the event that's going to be taking place in D.C. We also had the event that has been announced for Mount Rushmore. Isn't that correct?
Well, yeah, that was some contention because I didn't know they were saying that something was going to happen, and then people were posting pictures showing that it was actually going to be closed. So I'm not sure of the status on.
Well, yeah, I've never been to Mount Rushmore. I would love to go to Mount Rushmore, but you guys, I was able to pull up the clip of Joe Biden saying he's going to cure cancer. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this because I can't believe that he said this. I mean, they have a cure for cancer. Let's just be honest. But for him to use this, it's disgusting.
Vice President Biden said something yesterday in Iowa that really caught our ear about the fight against cancer. Let me play this for everyone.
I promise you, if I'm elected president, you're going to see the single most important thing that changes in America is we're going to cure cancer.
Now, Congressman, I know how personal this is to Joe Biden. We know how much energy and time that he has put into fighting cancer with the Biden Cancer Initiative. But with that phrase, we're going to cure cancer, how can he promise that, though?
We're America. When we made the commitment to go to the moon, people didn't think we could do it. And that's part of what's inspiring about Vice President.
Joe Biden is so desperate to be elected president that he's willing to bring out the cure for cancer. I mean, I find it particularly disgusting because my father died from cancer. I've known for years that they have had cures for cancer. We've talked about it here on the program with other guests in the past. Why do you guys think that President Trump has not made a move like this? I mean, I know this is something that a lot of us were hoping was going to happen, that President Trump was going to come into office and that he was going to release all of these different technologies, these new, medical advancements. Do you think it's something that he is also saving?
Well, I mean, when I was digging into some of the patents on the Rothschild patents years ago in the very beginning when Q started leading us down that path, Rothschild somewhere in 82, 83 have a patent for the cure for cancer. And the next one I saw right after that, they owned the patent on death, which I thought was quite alarming itself. So if it's tied up in some sort of legal red tape, I could see that's why. And you remember when Trump called out Big Pharma and said that you got to lower the drug prices. And then immediately the next day, they came out and told us that they found a cure for the super bug that everybody gets. And guess what? It's in dirt. All you got to do is eat dirt and you won't get the super bug anymore. And then right after that, Japan came out and said that they had a cure for the flu. You come over and get a shot, 24 hours, you're fine. You don't have to be sick for a few days or a week. So it was quite interesting to see those things coalesce right after Trump starts calling these people out.
Yeah, I got a question. How many Dixie cups can you make from Joe Biden's recent plastic surgery? No, I digress. Trump is, let's don't forget Trump's family, the link to the Tesla papers and, free energy, et cetera. I think he is indeed going to bring out these new cures and medications and medical findings. What do you think, Mike?
Well, yeah, I agree with that. His grandfather, I guess, was quite close with Tesla's work. And to Red Pill's point about the cancer, that particularly hits home.
I remember that, like you were saying, Hulk, that there were those incredible things that happened as soon as he took over. But, I have to think that Trump, as a businessman, is also thinking about the fact that, the cancer treatment industry is big money, So I would think that Trump is probably trying to think of some way to segue into some other type of money making thing for the pharmaceutical industry, so that we don't just come out with the cure for cancer. It's going to save a lot of people, but it's also going to probably crush a lot of businesses. Don't you guys think? I mean, I'm okay with it personally, but
Hey, sorry guys, I'm experiencing some RDoc.
Yeah, you
This thing,
just did it again.
yeah, I'm literally got my finger on the button. It keeps pulling it off for me, and I got my finger held down on it. I was just gonna say I agree with Matthew. I don't know how much you guys heard of that previously, but you know, about Tesla and Trump's grandfather being close to Tesla's work. So I think that could be in the works. And as far as the cancer thing, that one particularly hits home for me because my mother had actually passed away due to complications of cancer as well. And I do think that's a dirtball move to make and even say that because we do know, they've had cures for these things for years. I don't know if you can patent something that doesn't work, but there's a patent for AIDS out of Brown University in Rhode Island from 1997. Anybody wants to look up that patent, it's 5676977, method of curing AIDS with one intravenous shot. And two more things real quickly. Jim Acosta's book, guys. The title, you were right, The Enemy of the People. But the second part of that is so true, so true, but not in the way he thinks and wants us to think. The Enemy of the People, a dangerous time to tell the truth in America. Oh, because when the truth comes out about what's been going on, these people are toast. And I know you guys were mentioning earlier about Biden's son marrying somebody 10 days after he met. Now, is this his brother's wife? Because we know he had married his brother's wife after his brother had passed away. Now, did they get divorced and he married somebody else, or is this the same person?
I think it's the same person. I think that he had another girlfriend and then he broke up with her to marry his deceased brother's wife. That's exactly it. My mom sent me this story the other day. I couldn't believe it.
Talking about keeping it in the family, huh? Oh my goodness.
It's horrible. I just need to give a couple of thank yous real quick. Michael Kenny, thank you very much. Also, Son of a Green Card said also 17%, a very real number. You still live here, thank you. Zozo Dude 77, thank you. Thank you to Kathleen Sarton. And Texas Girl USA said, if he had access to the cure, why wait? We have to make him president for him to do the right thing. Yeah. Like you were saying, Michael, it's particularly disgusting that he would use this because he knows how many people out there in America have been touched by cancer in one way or another. He has nothing else to offer. So he's gonna promise that he's gonna bring a cure for cancer if he gets elected. It's a desperate play. I think the people are gonna see through it. My mother just said, no, not the brother's wife. Someone new. Okay, so the brother's wife was the girlfriend from previously, apparently, but someone else knew that Joe Biden's son is married. Go ahead.
Got another headline for you, boss. How about this one? You probably saw this one. Alan Dershowitz declares he would support Biden, Mr. Cure Cancer, over Trump in 2020. Come on.
That's disgusting.
So I just would like to touch upon this cancer subject for a small bit because I happen to know somebody in the very beginning that was in that medical field where they produced vaccines or cures and all that, and they'd have to go through the regulatory process to get things done. But when you go through and you're going to do a cure for something, you have to produce a procedure, you have to produce the machine, put forth all the information so the government can go through and make sure that everything is good. And sometimes these regulatory processes could take 10 or 15 years before they finally get okayed for it. And by that time, company might have changed hands, the machine might got moved, because once you get that okay, that's the okay on the original design that you put out for that cure itself. And he said he had a machine that that the pump went bad because they've been sitting for about 15 years or 10 years. He had to pay $15,000 for somebody to make this special pump on there because the parts are not available for the original design of this machine, so they can make the exact authorized cure that they just went through the regulatory process with.
That's just insane. I mean, it's just more evidence pointing to the fact that we have far too many regulations in this country. Like the amount of red tape that we have to cut through to get things done. Trump has done an incredible job so far on removing a lot of those regulations, allowing business to move at a much quicker pace. But there's still a lot more work that needs to be done.
Yeah, and that was a great ceremony he had too. Remember when he did that, basically cutting all the regulations? He showed the stack of papers, and it was like, I don't know, 4 or 6 pallets that were like full of papers. That was the old regulations, and then the new ones were like 1 pallet, but it was like a quarter of the way full. So he's doing what he can, but yeah, I got a feeling that's what it is. All this, red tape, bureaucratic BS.
Real quick, guys.
He did.
Oh, go ahead, Hulk.
I was just going to say, I remember him telling us, for every new regulation that you bring to me, I'm going to take away 2 old ones.
Whitehat just said 4 billion system tracks all vaccines at the CDC, one of my babies back in the day. Oh, that was a program that he worked on. A program to track all vaccines in every child here in the United States. Were you guys aware that something like that existed?
I sure was not.
I wouldn't doubt it, though.
Yeah.
Come on.
And James Shea just says, what has EOW been talking about with this PEDO bust? I believe you're talking about there was a huge bust recently. The DOJ had released a press release. Something like, wasn't it something crazy, like thousands of people that were busted?
Was this the child predator thing with
Yes.
the 1,700 people arrested all the way across the United States? Yeah,
that was it.
Huge bust, dude. Quite a bit here in California, to be honest with you. And it seemed like they saved all of these all at for once, all at the same day. Talk about winning.
All right. Well, real quick, the one thing we have not talked about yet that I should have said right when we started, you guys, is, you know what today is, right? It's Donald Trump's birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Oh, absolutely. It's also the Army's birthday, 244 years.
Exactly.
The president is
exactly.
Now, 73 years young, baby. Happy birthday, number 45. We love.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I had quite a bit of trouble trying to wish the president a happy birthday today on Twitter. Bree had made a really awesome "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" GIF, and I was trying to tweet it out. And anytime that I put, "Happy Birthday, Mr. Real Donald Trump," "Happy Birthday, Mr. President," it didn't matter what it was, Twitter would not allow me to send that message. And she found the exact same thing. But you know what they were allowing people to tweet out? They were allowing hashtag John McCain Day to trend.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God. I dropped a little picture of Trump Jr. over there at the Discord if you wanted to throw that.
Yeah, I actually had the same problem. I tried to basically upload a different, I tried to upload a GIF just to promote this show here, and it kept failing as well. I was able to do one, and then when I tried to put out a community posting on YouTube, it kept saying fail, fail, fail. And I just wanted to touch on that 1,700 arrests, guys. If you guys do recall, this is part of that Broken Heart, task force, whatever you want to call. And we have been seeing arrests, over the course, I think it's been about 2 years or so, because there was another group of them that got busted. So like Hulkanator said, there was a bunch of them that all got busted at once, like last summer. And then here we have again a few days ago, another 1,700. So, my question is, where were all these people, where were the administration previously? What were they doing? Obviously nothing. Obama, Bush, Clinton, none of these people had any of these people that were doing these things in their sites at all. So many arrests under President Trump. It's sickening that they just let these people wander the streets like that.
Yeah, it's pretty awful, and this is one of the top things that I like to talk about when people, have something negative to say about the president. Like, do you care about human trafficking? Do you care about the victimization of children? And that's generally something that people can universally get behind. And when you can show them the data and prove to them that President Trump is the first president to actually make moves on stopping this stuff, it kind of stops people in their tracks.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add too, because a lot of people might not be too privy to this, Oh, sorry guys. Stupid button. I gotta keep my eye on the screen. But yeah, we've all covered this. Patriot News, Matthew, Red Pill. This is when they say, people that are doing this podiatrist deal, it's not just like, okay, well, they were having fun with like a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old or something. There was one story, it was an ex-Clinton aide that the guy had got set up, and he was looking to go to the playground, we'll say, with a 7-year-old. And then in the documents, it said, well, yeah, that's nice, but do you have anything younger? And they had set it up where it was going to be a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old that this guy was going to have his little fun with. And what was most concerning to me is that this guy seemed to be under the impression that this person he was talking to was going to be totally down with that. And what that tells me is that there has to be some sort of a trusted network in between these dirtballs that leads them to believe, like, okay, this FBI agent that I was talking to is really just some dirtball that will rent out their children for the day. It's really, really disturbing because it's not just, early teens. It's people or children as young as 2 and 3 years old. And, sometimes you even hear toddlers and, 6 months old and stuff like that. So really, really disgusting.
Yeah, that's just like this Daily Caller ad that I touched on a video. This popular tech reporter who wrote about Microsoft was arrested allegedly soliciting what with a 7 and 9-year-old. Folks, listen to this. Was later arrested, meeting with an undercover agent pretending to be a mother to solicit and sell a 7 and 9-year-old, children as her kids. This really goes on, folks.
This is that the video game reporter that you're referring to?
Yeah, Roger, Mr. Bright, Mr. Let me see if I can scroll this up.
His Twitter name was Dr. Pizza.
Unya.
Oh my goodness,
yeah,
disgusting.
Talk about in your face, absolutely in your face, just disgusting. These people are the absolute dregs of humanity. And we're looking here on the screen at a picture of our President Donald Trump, as an innocent young child. Happy birthday to Mr. President. I really hope that the moves that are being made are going to completely dismantle this global network of awful, awful people, because as much work is being done, it kills me to know that this happens on such like a grand basis. Like every single country in the world, probably every town, every neighborhood, somebody is being victimized.
Well, if you remember a year ago, they had that huge case involving Philadelphia and the church over there. They were naming people that were dead with indictments through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And there was like 300 of them that were in there that they were going after. So I haven't seen too much of the church stuff come out, but last year we saw numerous things going down with the church.
Yeah, we covered some of it, Hulk. If you remember, RDOT did a big dig on it about all the rings out of the major churches. But real quick note, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Red Pill, but listen to this guy's write-up. It's, I do not speak for my employer retweets or endorsements unless ironic. Immigrant, Londoner, New Yorker, European, Polypan Pervy, he/him. Now, they let him get away with this stuff, folks, on social media. But if we try to, just like Mike, Red Pill, Hulk, and all was describing about posting about this live stream and also the president's birthday, they don't allow that, but they allow this freakzoid to put stuff like this on.
It's incredible. It's incredible because it shows that there is a concerted effort to protect these people, while at the same time there is an organized effort to suppress and control the things that we want to talk about. And all we want to talk about is saving children. We want to talk about how to stop this stuff. And then you've got people at these companies, these big tech companies, and they're working on a daily basis to protect them. You know, it shows how vast the network is and how many people are behind it.
So I was reading an article last night because they were talking about migrants last night, and we've seen the sex trafficking with the underage people coming up from Mexico, and this article was talking about how this one young girl, she was 5, she was lured away from her family because it was kind of a broken home, and promised some candy and a place to live, and they took her, and she spent about 3 or 4 months with this guy, and was kind of a father figure at that point, and basically they sold her into slavery, and she was with 30 men a day for 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 4 years before she was finally rescued. And they asked her, what's the most important thing you want me to remember? And she said, I want you to remember the number 40,300 men I've been with over the last 4 years.
I just realized that my mic was off, guys, for everybody else. I just wanted to say thank you to the mods, because we have just been getting pummeled for the last 3 weeks by these bots that are dropping, like every other message, they are dropping links to offensive material, I'll say. And I have to believe that they're putting it into a stream like ours because they know that this is exactly the kind of thing that would incense me. And make us just, absolutely crazy. This is the last thing that we want to see in our chat here. So they think that they're going to beat us by putting this in here, and maybe they're going to drop a link that we're going to miss, and then it's going to get us reported or something like that, because this stuff is clearly against YouTube's policies. I would really like to know what YouTube is doing about this type of thing. I mean, this seems to be widespread. I've only noticed it very recently on several other conservative channels like myself. Has this been happening to you guys at Patriot News?
Oh yeah, dude, we had to install, it's called a Nightbot, that goes in there and won't allow anybody to post links or all capital letters, and it could be tweaked a little bit in there, but if you want to keep those guys from getting into your stream, Nightbot would need to be added to the channel.
Okay.
And that goes in YouTube.
If you can show me how to do that after the stream, I would so appreciate it. The next story that I wanted to talk about, guys, did you hear that there was yet another American tourist that's died in the Dominican Republic?
Yes.
Yes. Not only that, but they've also discovered another death that took place prior to this rash of deaths. And this was at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, and this was before the first of the tourists, before those first 3 tourists that were discovered. This was back in July of 2018, so it very well could not, be related, but they're drawing attention to it in such a manner that makes me think that it does have something to do with it. And you know what? His cause of death is listed as pulmonary edema. which I believe is the same cause of death as those first 3 American tourists that were found.
Hey, guys.
Lost you, Space Shot.
Damn it. Sorry, guys. I just want to touch on that bot thing you were talking about. You, as the channel owner, can actually remove them. The mods can only, time them out or whatever. But I will add to the point of YouTube is absolutely letting this happen, because Hulkanator can testify to numerous times we'll be on Patriot News and all of a sudden you see a comment that just gets deleted and it says by Team YouTube. So YouTube, where are you right now? Why are you allowing these people to drop these posts into our link? And one thing, I apologize, guys, I don't have my laptop with me, so I can't be interacting with you guys in the chat, but I would love to be, and glad you guys are all here.
Well, to add on a little bit of that, it's we have our own mods in our stream over there, and we keep a pretty tight ship, and the people watching you've been around for a long time, and they kind of let me know when we have issues over there. But to have a deletion by a Google moderator team is actually what it says in the chat itself, and I got a couple of screenshots. I'd have to dig them up, but it's happened more than once. And they've also deleted one of my mods' comments, that are supposed to help out with the chat. They deleted his post in there. This says deleted by Google moderator team. And when we start getting over the target, they start throwing out a splash screen that says it's copyrighted material, and the screen will go blank for a little while until we stop talking about it, and then they'll just turn it right back on. So they don't actually turn the stream off. They just won't allow us to display anything. It just says copyrighted material on it.
Sundar, are you there, Sundar? Any?
I hear you, Matthew. Who's Sundar?
Sundar.
Sundar. Having my, never mind, one of those moments. I'm going to stay on topic, Hulk. Just bear patience with me there, brother. That was kind of long-winded, bro. Talking about the interview with the Vox, whatever that was. Maybe they have the same plastic surgery that Joe, I can't keep my hands off of things, Biden. But what's up with those Back to the Future reject glasses? And, he talks about offensive content. We're going to go on and off on borderline content, but yet we have the kind of things going on tonight.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy is just dripping all over this stuff. What really got to me about that whole dust up, and I speak about this on the show that I'm doing tomorrow, but the takedown of Crowder. Crowder was saying things that were descriptive of things that this individual had said about himself in the past. If you look at his name on Twitter, he identifies himself as a certain group of people. And he's a public figure. He's a public figure. Steven Crowder is doing commentary. He's a comedian. There are even tweets that show this person on Twitter acknowledging the fact that Steven Crowder is performing jokes. If you just go back to last year. So, for the fact that he's coming out and trying to get not only Steven Crowder, but, a whole crop of other people. And there have been so many takedowns since that video came out. They're calling it another YouTube apocalypse, the Vox apocalypse this time.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I thought that was Steven Crowder in that interview, bro. I really did. And when I first saw that interview, sorry, Mike, but I have to say this. I was like, that's Steven Crowder. This is a joke, right? What is?
Yeah, well, they and they also, Crowder had showed the emails he got from YouTube, and it was actually on Twitter too, Team YouTube, saying that he didn't break any of the rules, but yet they demonetized him. So what happened in the end? Crowder got a crap load of more subscribers, and then he had that that mug club that he does or whatever, and he had a coupon for a percentage of it off, and they said a ton of people signed up for the mug club shortly thereafter, and they specifically did not use the coupon, so they wanted to support him. So all this is, with that whole Vox thing and this, the links that we're receiving here, and I had received them as well on my channel. They're just showing their true colors, and I think the more that they do it, the more that the people are going to see it. And they're just showing their true colors, and their true colors are absolutely disgusting.
Well, I can only hope that with the new antitrust actions that are going to be brought against Google and Twitter and Facebook, that this finally is the answer to the suppression that we have found ourselves facing on a daily basis. They cannot get away with being, private companies and claiming to not be publishers, saying that they're a platform, not a publisher. If they are out there choosing what it is that people get to say or get to post, they're clearly editing the content. That means that they are a publisher, and they are not immune to these laws that were passed in Congress to give them the blanket immunity that they've got currently.
Yeah,
I just wanted to add a little bit on that because you just brought something to my mind about that the censorship that I saw that one day, or a couple of times I saw the Google moderator team. So I took a screenshot of it, and I was going to go over to Facebook, and I was going to go send it over to Dutch Sense and go, hey, you know what? They're censoring us over here at Patriot News. I want to send you this little screenshot, and I go ahead and start typing out my little message. Get about halfway through it, and the message deletes. And I'm like, all right, I must have pressed the wrong button. Let me go and try it again. So I start typing out again, and it deletes a couple of words. And I'm like, all right, let me retype it out again and get it out, and the whole message deletes. And I finally realized, because I'm out now, I'm putting like words with dots and symbols and making words out of letters and numbers to put the message out. Somebody at Facebook was there deleting my private messages as I'm trying to send it out to Dutch Sense.
Yeah, and that's similar to what had happened to me, I think about a month ago. I was watching, I think it was X22 Report, and I put a very positive comment, great video, Dave. And I'm watching the video, and then I look down at my comment, and my comment went from great video, Dave, blah, 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 whatever, to yeah, we've been hearing this crap for 2 months under my name. And the weirdest part about that was actually a comment that I received by some troll on my channel about 5 minutes before that. So I don't.
Wow. That's just unbelievable, you guys. Real quick, I just need to say thank you to Doug Rakes. Thank you for that. I need to say thank you to Sin Doe. He said M. Flynn follows Q followers on Twitter. That is correct. Sean W. says, don't take it personal, Red Pill, about the bots. I was watching Bellator 222 live, and the live stream was full of lots of garbage also. Steve Perk said, you can disable link posting in the stream in the settings. I actually did that while we were talking about this censorship, guys. Thank you. And then White Hat, did we find out if Don Jr. is running for office? Yeah, actually, you guys, someone had mentioned to me that Don Jr. was apparently going to be running in Michigan. Have you guys heard this?
I heard mayor for something or other. I thought it was New York or something.
I had previously heard New York, but then somebody else said Michigan. I mean, I don't know. I would love it if Don Jr. was to run for mayor of New York. I think that he's exactly what New York needs.
I think it would be a good way to cut his teeth on as he maybe runs up for president later.
Exactly. And look at that. Truth Not Fiction Matters. Hunya!
Yeah, I hadn't heard about him doing that, but damn.
Lost you.
Hey, Spaceshot, are you on an iPhone product?
I am on an iPhone, and I'm trying to find the sweet spot. What I'll add while this button's still working. Oh, go ahead.
Wait, I just want to suggest to you is don't push so hard down on the screen. That's what RDoc found out.
Maybe it's doing the 3D touch thing or whatever. Yeah, and the only thing I did hear about, elections and whatnot was the fact that President Trump said he could not. This is very telling because we were talking about can people be trusted last night. We were talking about Pence, right? He said he cannot commit to endorsing Pence for 2024. I found that very interesting.
That was actually something that I was going to talk about. Let me get the story up here. But did you guys actually see the interview where he mentioned that?
I did.
Yeah, I missed it too for all the stuff coming out today. It was a busy day at work, but I thought I was floored when I heard that come out of his mouth.
Well, I think that's extremely telling. We've talked often about whether or not Pence is someone that can be explicitly trusted. I think that if he was someone that the president, had his confidence behind full force, then he would have, certainly suggested that he would support him in 2020.
I mean, yeah, I don't know where to put him. I mean, we talked about it quite a bit last night, and we thought that if the cabal really wanted control and they were doing the insurance file, that Pence would have been placed in position to, kind of be their fall guy for it. But as we see his actions, he's been nothing but supportive of Trump 100%. He's been a big proponent of the whole Space Force thing. And if you haven't listened to some of his talks about Space Force, especially the one in Florida, I recommend you guys to go listen to. They're talking about direct energy weapons and all this fun jazz. It's a 2-hour video, but the last half hour, when the lady starts talking about technology they have, all this stuff that she started talking about, I almost fell out of my chair when she said direct energy weapon in space. I was like, what?
I did not hear that, but I would love to hear that. I would absolutely love to hear that. Yeah, here's the thing with Pence. I think that he's a sleeper agent. I think that he is openly talking about MAGA issues. He's openly talking about supporting the president's agenda. But that's exactly what a good sleeper cell agent would do. Like I said yesterday, I've seen just too many photos where it seemed that Pence was so uncomfortable next to the president. And have you guys noticed that Pence will often speak with his eyes closed? That always made me feel like I just couldn't trust him.
I saw that live at the rally I attended on the Gulf Coast. I actually saw that live.
Yeah, it's almost like he knows that he is lying, and so he can't look any of us in the eyes.
Well, if that's the case, I know where to put him. You put him in the trunk of the Beast.
Well, how about this, you guys? Sarah Sanders has announced that she's leaving the White House at the end of the month.
Well, yep. we heard about that, what, a month or so ago? It came out in the news, and the news started panicking, and they interviewed her, and they're saying, and she came out, no, I'm not leaving. I know what you guys are talking about. I really enjoy it. And then here we are again. It's coming out. I mean, she's held that position for 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. She's got some pretty young kids at home, and I'm sure she's missing them a lot. And I don't know if this is a pivot point, when we get out somebody who's nice and happy, and then we move into a bulldog position, who would they use to pick to replace her? I say Candace Owen, and I'm still thinking we should be voting for Trump and Flynn for 2020, but we'll see what happens.
I am behind that ticket 100%. My take on Sarah Sanders leaving, people that are in the press secretary position don't historically stick around, for a really long time. I mean, there's always been, kind of a quick turnover among administrations. And I think that's just because they're in such a high pressure position. They're dealing with the press all the time. Sarah Sanders has stayed there longer, honestly, than I expected her to, given the hostile nature of the press that the administration is dealing with.
And I think it was alleged, or I don't know if it was President Trump said he was hoping that maybe she would run. Maybe she
run for Arkansas. Governor, right?
Yeah, I got to fix these touch settings or whatever. But yeah, apparently, maybe she might run for governor of Arkansas. I think it was. That would be great. We need another Republican.
I don't think that would be available until like 2022, I think, is when the next run would be.
I would think that she would be looking at, a state senator or state rep type position, or or even like mayor of someplace. But I mean, I could see her jumping straight to a state level position, just given her high profile.
Yeah, she's smart and she takes no guff. I like her. She's definitely a team player for us for sure.
Hey, Spaceshot, considering the fact that you are on an iPhone, if you're in a quiet area, you can go ahead and put it on voice activity, just as long as you don't got kids or dogs barking in the background.
Yeah, I might try that and just mute while I'm off.
There you go. I just needed to say a couple of quick thank yous. Thank you to Angela Jones. Thank you to Jeff Stewart. And thank you to Deborah Mall. Thank you very much, all of you. So... looks like Sarah Sanders, she was only the third female White House press secretary. And, of course, we know that she took over for Sean Spicer. She did leave a little comment on Twitter. She said, "I am blessed and forever grateful to real Donald Trump for the opportunity to serve and proud of everything he's accomplished. I love the president and my job. The most important job I'll ever have is being a mom to my kids, and it's time for us to go home. Thank you, Mr. President." And that sounds to me like she is ready to go spend some time with her family for sure.
Well, you got to remember, she was also the first press secretary in history of the United States that required Secret Service protection.
Yes.
Yeah. Great point, Hulk. I was just about to add to that. Look at the harassment that she had to go through when she first became press secretary. I think she did a brilliant job. So, big props and shout out to her. She did a great job representing the president every day, getting assaulted by, Baby Cakes, Acosta, and all the other ones.
Yeah, Sarah Sanders has done an incredible job there as the press secretary. It's got to be extremely stressful dealing with those people on a daily basis. It's like herding cats in the press room right there. Now, I'm sure you guys are aware that MSNBC is in no good standing after the debacle that was the Mueller report. They spent the last several years telling their entire audience that President Trump was going to prison, that he was an agent of the Russian Federation. Rachel Maddow went from being one of the highest rated talking heads on television to losing a good portion of her audience. And MSNBC itself is down by 30% of their viewership since the Mueller debacle took place. Well, apparently they're in really bad shape financially, and they are going to people are suggesting that they might be collapsing altogether. Have you guys heard any rumblings on this?
I've heard a little bit about this, and it's kind of following the same type of trend that we saw happen at CNN, losing lots of money. And since strings are cut and maybe the cabal's looking for money, and these are the only last couple of assets they have control of, which would be our news media with the Mockingbird media, are they cycling money out of the companies to use it for other things, is what I was thinking.
It's kind of like that sound we heard after the Mueller report came out, that major, huge sucking sound, just like the 2016 election, out of energy.
I mean, I think the American public is really seeing the fake news. And I follow social media a lot, to be honest with you, and looking at how the bots and these paid shills get out there and start talking on social media. I am seeing a great number of conservative Republicans come back to social media and start calling out the fake news, like our CNNs or MSNBC. I'll go watch There's a Lot, all those three-letter television news stations that we all look at. Go look at the comments. Support your Republican guys that are in those comments. It's very important, guys.
Yeah, how about that headline? Sorry, Mike. How about that headline with Amar or whatever her name is? Now she doesn't want to show her tax records after they've been on the tax. Show your taxes, President Trump, all this time, and now they go for AOC and the other one's taxes, and they don't want to show them, huh?
Yeah, I have heard that the congresswoman from Minnesota is apparently going to be facing some tax evasion charges.
And she might have gotten her brother, or was it her brother in the country by possibly marrying him or something?
Immigration fraud, definitely immigration fraud. Yeah, but you can't talk about that one either. Yeah. Well, you know what I thought was really interesting about the collapse of the news media? There was that bill, that program that the former administration had put in that was funneling billions of dollars into the mainstream media. It was essentially a propaganda bill, paying for all of these additional employees, and you could see the how that bill and all that money coincided with just like this giant pumping up of digital media and this left-wing rage mob that came out of places like Huffington Post and Vox and CNN. And then once that money was cut off after Trump came into office, and it wasn't immediately, it was within the last year, that's when we really started seeing these places begin to lay people off. And CNN just recently fired their entire health team, and now, MSNBC doing the same. Who's left? Who's going to be left for the left? If MSNBC is gone, if CNN is gone, what else do they have out there?
We got Saturday Night Live, man.
That's right. Weekend update.
Oh yeah, I mean, guys, these people, as our favorite Anon says, those who are the loudest, and it's kind of hitting the genres we're talking about here, comedy shows. Have you guys noticed that all of these so-called comedy shows, all they are is President Trump bashing shows now, right? We had Bill Maher come out the other day. I'm really concerned that if he loses this election, he's not going to leave. Like, really? You think that, Bill Maher? I wonder why you're so vocal against him. Is it because that your production company is named Kid Love Productions? Does that have anything to do with it? Is that why you're so loud and vocal against President Trump? Me think so.
Have to agree with you there.
Go ahead, Hall.
Brain fart. Sorry, guys.
It's no problem. Well, how about this, guys? Did you see that President Trump just got a major win? The DOJ has released a legal opinion backing Mnuchin's refusal to release his tax returns. So now, in a 33-page report, it was just released today, basically he's not going to have to show the last 6 years of his tax returns.
It's ridiculous. They pulled out his tax returns from what, 1972? No, I mean, it was like 10 years ago when they leaked his tax returns. They want his tax returns before he was even president. This is becoming even more ridiculous, if that's even possible. I mean, they want to see his, but she doesn't want to give hers. I mean, I think it would stand to reason that we should be able to see hers, especially with all of the allegations, because we do know that they had Mueller looking into President Trump for 2 years, and you're telling me he didn't go through any of his financials at all? I would doubt that he didn't look through the financials.
Hey, I got an idea. Sorry, Hog. I got an idea. The president can release his tax returns as soon as they release those 30,000 plus emails, that HRC destroyed. This is cybersecurity. Ted Talker.
I mean, if you really think about what Trump is, and, he did say, because they all call him out for the certain deals that he has done and all that. And just like the other elites, they're playing by the rules that are set for the game they play. If that's the way it's set up and they can, hide money, I'm not going to say that he's actually cheating, but these are the laws that all the corporations use. And if they're going to go ahead and submit for this guy's taxes for Trump's, send me the taxes, he's not an average person like us. He's not, a paycheck every 2 weeks. I got to go to the bank and deposit it. This guy owns and operates properties in multi-billion-dollar company, and they're going to ask for his taxes. I mean, he's on a whole nother level that most of these people in Congress will never, ever see. Probably will never understand that whole setup of how his system actually works.
Right. And sorry, buddy.
Go ahead.
Here's a point I want to make. President Trump didn't even accept the presidential salary. But why is it that Mad Maxine impeach 45 has a $7 million home and all these crooked politicians, they're coming in with meager financials and they're leaving as multi-millionaires and they want to see his tax returns? Hey, why don't you show us all your tax returns, swamp?
That's exactly the point that I was going to make, Matthew. If they are going to demand that President Trump show his tax returns, then it's only right that they reciprocate, because it just does not make sense. The financials don't add up. For them to be coming in on, even if it was just their salary as a lawmaker, but most of these people are coming in with nothing. Basically, they're just regular folks. They're not coming in with like a dynastic reputation and tens of millions of dollars in their bank accounts as President Trump has. But they're gaining incredible wealth the whole time they are in office. And we truly have just an awfully structured two-tier system here, because the members of Congress are perfectly legally able to take the information that they get on a daily basis from the various committees that they oversee and that they sit on, and they can take that information and they can use it for their own financial gain. So let's say that they're in a closed door session and they get some information showing that Facebook is going to have a major trust investigation against them. They can immediately go to their office, call their broker, and say, sell everything I've got that's Facebook, collect at the day's rate, and then once the news comes out the next day and Facebook tumbles by 40% or whatever, everybody else is left out in the dust, and that's perfectly legal for them to do. This is one of the things that I specifically really wish that they would address in Washington, because the system that they have set up to allow the swamp to become enriched, that has to stop. People cannot have the certainty that they're going to go to Washington, and as long as they're dirty, they're going to be able to come out a rich person.
And these people own so much stock, Nadler, Pelosi, Feinstein, they own so much stock in these social media platforms as well. And as Matt had mentioned, Miss Impeach 45 owns she owns a $4 million house. Mind you, it's outside of her constituency, right? Was it Feinstein or Pelosi? I always get them mixed up. One of them has a net worth of like $140 million. Doesn't really matter, but it shows you the pattern. And I'll add to that, you can find an interview of Hillary Clinton. I think she was talking to Diane Sawyer, saying, when me and Bill came out of the White House, we were dead broke. We owed millions of dollars. Well, what's their net worth now? I mean, how many hundreds of millions of dollars? So yeah, they're enriching themselves on information they're privy to, and it's all good for them to do it. Just totally fine. But I think what President Trump has been doing, like he did with that comment with Stephanopoulos, he is just drawing them into focusing on certain little things that they can nitpick on, but in the grand scheme of things, they're doing it even worse, right? Or they're actually doing it. So I think he keeps doing that, and it's like the boomerang deal. He brings them in, all right, attack me on this, but we know you're really doing it worse.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
How about speaking of Feinstein? You're gonna love this, RedPill. Come on, you didn't know that driver you had was from China? Come on.
Yes. It's impossible for Dianne Feinstein to have had that close personal relationship with that Chinese spy for all those years and not know that that's exactly what he was. Now, real quick, I had a super chat I needed to say thank you to Bullwinkle. Bullwinkle just super chatted and said HR 25. HR 25 is the Fair Tax Act of 2017. This is a bill for tax reform proposal that imposes a national sales tax on the use or consumption of things. The rate of the sales tax will be 23%. Now, have you guys heard about this particular bill?
I heard about a different one we were reading about. I don't know if it was this one or something else, but it was the one that was heading to the president's desk to be signed. Kind of goes into some of this and also talks about, wives, being released from certain debt that their husband might have had and some other stuff like that. So I'm not sure if this is the same one.
Well, it doesn't. Let me see. It says lots of information here, but I don't necessarily know how to read this congressional website. It was sponsored by Representative Woodall from Georgia, and the last action, this is back in 2017, it was referred to the House Committee on Ways and Means, so it doesn't look like it has been signed by the president, so that may be a different one than what you had seen previously.
I'm going to dig it out here. I got a link for it.
There is a related bill. Let's take a look. That is, no, read twice and referred to the Committee on Finance. This is S18. Yes, this is another fair tax of 2017, and that's also still in committee. You know, how much longer do these people think that the United States is going to be able to survive with them constantly just attacking President Trump? I mean, the business of government has stopped. It has essentially become just a 24-hour bully pulpit for the Democrats and the left to just continuously go after President Trump. They haven't done a single thing since starting this new term. Anything that's been done, it's only been done by President Trump.
Right. And how about this new hashtag impeach Trump 133 event that they've got scheduled? What about this new political correct grooming program that they're starting for young people? Are you kidding me? I mean,
not aware of it.
This is madness.
Not aware of it.
Well, Dave Hodges talked a little bit about it. I'm going to do some more digging. I'm kind of like the Hulkster. It's been a busy day, but they're actually going against Christians, conservatives, in any pro-MAGA group. And they're now giving seminars to young youth groups. Folks, I'm serious. It's epic level here of hypocrisy against our founding father principles. You know, anyone for which voted for Trump, just like the polls we're seeing. We talked about this last night too. How do you do a voting poll with 700 people? I mean, some of these folks running on the Democratic side can't even fill a phone booth, much less tackle the president, okay? I mean, have you seen the rallies lately, folks? I mean, it's incredible. They have no chance.
No, they clearly have no chance. And anytime you see a poll, I immediately recognize it as propaganda. We were talking about this last night. The polls are not designed to give people an accurate picture of, what American sentiment. All they are is designed to herd people's mentality. So if someone sees a poll and it says Joe Biden is beating Donald Trump in a 70-30 landslide, it's going to embolden Democrats. And in the past, it might have worked to keep some Republicans at home. But we have had such an incredible awakening here in America in the last several years. And, the very fact that we are here talking tonight, you guys, is a testament to the fact that people have awoken in so many different ways. And even the people who don't know about our favorite Anon, you've still got a general awakening that's taken place all across the country.
So to talk a little bit about your polls, when they start talking about polls, the first thing I start thinking about is the Trump rallies. He had just talked about that Florida had 70,000 requests and there's only 20,000 seats. And I remember the one in Texas that he did, the big one down there. We sent people from Patriot News down there. They had 100,000 RSVPs, and they got back that 36% of those were registered Democrats, and I think the arena only hold about 20,000, 22,000. And there was probably still another 10 or 15,000 outside watching the rally on the big screens, because there's so many people showing up for the rallies they can't get in, and they put big screens out. And I keep thinking, Trump was saying, hey, I'm going to hold a Trump rally in the biggest arena in Texas. And we're thinking, well, Super Bowl, let's go down with the Cowboys out. Let's fill that bad boy up. You notice he hasn't done that. And I think he's honestly doing that on purpose, because I really think he's saying he's going to do it after he starts his presidential run, and then start doing the bigger arenas to see more of the Patriots get together for a Trump rally.
I think you're right there. Now, that rally down in Florida, tickets have topped 100,000 there as well. So what they've announced is that this is going to be an all-day tailgate party for the Orlando campaign kickoff. And actually, my friend Thomas from True Reporting is apparently going to be on site for the events of this tailgate party and the rally itself. He's going to be speaking with people at the rally. Do you guys at Patriot News have any plans to send people down there again?
Not in Florida. We do normally the Texas ones, stuff in Michigan, because that's a pretty big battle state. Those are a couple of our guys. We've probably been to about 3 rallies in Michigan and 2 in Texas so far. And we are streaming when we do go to these. We're bringing our own cameras. We're right next to Right Side Broadcasting. It's kind of nice in the Michigan we were at. Right Side Broadcasting was watching our guys bring in camera equipment, and one of the guys made a post on 8chan, saying that it felt great. He had been working all day. He's up at 6, wasn't going to bed until 1 o'clock in the morning, carrying big, heavy camera equipment out, back and forth between the rally and the car. And Right Side Broadcasting came over and basically gave him a thumbs up and says, that you're on the right side of history from our brethren over at RBS. So it was good to see that from them.
That's so awesome. I just need to give a couple of quick thank yous. Fuse99 said, have my boy Spaceshot76 on for more live streams. You guys make a great team. For everyone else, realize the most powerful office in our government is the Secretary of the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, Emergency Powers Act. Then also Trophy Truck said, where we go, one we go all. Now, Hulk, since you sent over that link about the IRS reform bill, I just wanted to touch on that real quick. This is a real thing. It is the Taxpayer First Act, and it's going to be reforming the IRS. That is incredible news.
I find it a pretty big story. We went through it, started reading about all the positive things at it. It basically takes out a lot of the teeth of the IRS. It helps out a lot of the other family members too. If somebody dies in the family and they're left with a lot of debt, and the significant other can't handle it along those issues, they're putting in a lot more things to help out a lot of people with it. And so far, it looks pretty clean to me, and I don't see any big issues with it.
Yeah, it looks like it is going to be making it easier for people with not a lot of money who get targeted by the IRS to be able to stand up for themselves and not have to worry about it. Also should streamline customer service and limit seizure of property. That's great. Also greater protection for innocent spouses if you have a husband or a wife who tries to cheat the tax man. Then you will not be held liable. Curbed use of private tax collectors. That's also good. Earlier notice of third-party questioning. Limited access to taxpayer information, so they won't just have every single bit of iota of information about you. Listening to the taxpayer advocate, it says. Greater identity theft protection. What I want to know is what are they going to do about the widespread use of Social Security numbers from dead Americans that are used by illegal immigrants on a regular basis every year. I heard a figure several months ago during tax season that billions of dollars are given in fictitious returns each year to immigrants, to illegals that are here and are claiming children that are not even in the country with them.
So a friend of mine that I know, been around for 20 years or so, he's an illegal, but he's here with Social Security number and all that. He just let all his friends and relatives use his Social Security number, and they all claim 0. And when tax comes around, he collects all their taxes from the Social Security number that they were using that was his.
Wait, so they are filing multiple tax returns with the single Social Security number?
Yep. And then in the end, he writes them as all dependents or whatever. I can't remember how he explained it to him. But he gets all their money back because, they can't collect it because they're illegal, but they're using this single Social Security number, and it's all his, and he goes in and collects all that money.
Check this out. Check this headline out. Feds to warn immigrants about welfare use. USCIS chief says sponsors will pay back every dollar immigrants use. Right there, what you just said, Rip.
You got to remember, there were stories coming out that the IRS was encouraging underneath the Obama administration to fraudulently use Social Security numbers to file taxes, even though it wasn't yours.
That's something that has to stop. I mean, the United States, our budget, the amount of money that we're just handing out like candy, it's just insane. You know, meanwhile, normal people are just being bled dry on a regular basis. It makes me so angry to hear about these kind of things.
I mean, it comes back to that line I like to say is, don't steal. The government doesn't like competition.
That's exactly it. Well, did you guys hear what Mark Meadows had to say earlier? He said that a lot of whistleblowers have come forward since Bill Barr was confirmed, and that Durham began his investigation, and he said indictments are on the way, conclusively. This was on Hannity on Wednesday night.
Okay, so that makes total sense when they delayed the IG report. Remember we were talking about that the end of May, beginning of June, and that got pushed back because didn't he come out? Was it at Meadows that came out and said, "Oh, it's going to be delayed for a little bit longer, and we don't know how soon"?
Yeah, no, it was definitely Meadows, you know, and and I was thinking about that at the time, you know, why would it be delayed? Well, it's not because they're covering up, it's because they want to strengthen their cases. It's because they have that much more information that they need the time to continue to investigate and to build the strongest possible cases against these people, and perhaps a lot more people.
And they were also saying that one of the reasons was that Christopher Steele had agreed to testify. And yeah, so I'm wondering if there's any part of these people that are, you know, not legitimate. You know, I wouldn't put it past the bad guys to, hey, go say you're a whistleblower and, you know, waste some of these people's time. While I do agree there's probably a ton of people that are legitimate whistleblowers, you know, anything these people can do to delay the inevitable, they're going to try to do. But, you know, like I said last night, guys, I would rather have this, you know, last, if it has to be an extra three months, 6 months, whatever it has to be, because this group of people has been going back for at least 100 years, probably thousands of years if we knew the whole totality of it. And you're not going to take down a huge spider web of this criminality, you know, in 3 months. Because like I said last night, guys, you know, I did my first Q video on January 1st, 2018. It was that Julian Assange put out the Maya song. It was just I guess it was Q related. It wasn't actually a Q post.
Paper planes.
Yeah, the paper planes post. So that's when I got into that. But, you know, come, you know, March, April, I was like, come on, we need to see arrest. This is ridiculous. And then I was like, wait, you know, we can't have it like that, because if they just started indicting people while you had a majority of the swamp in there, if you don't dot all the I's and cross all the T's, some of these people are going to walk on a technicality, given their high-priced lawyers that know every little loophole there is, you know?
Well, I just want to touch on one thing he started at the very beginning is when he talked about Durham and Robert Steele, because the original deal was Steele to come and talk to Horowitz, the IG. But they came in and said, no, you're not going to talk to him because he doesn't have any teeth. He's not a prosecutor or any of that. He's just an investigator. And that's what Steele wanted in the beginning. They didn't want any indictments or grand jury or any of that stuff. So to have Durham put together a deal with Steele to come over that they're not going to just immediately arrest the guy, you know, is very important. So did he turn whistleblower? That's the real question.
All I can say is we came, the indictments we saw, off to Gitmo they go. Hey, Mike, hit it, brother. Read out 3127. Hit it.
What's that? What, post 3127?
Roger, hit him with.
Well, you're assuming I know that right off the top of my head, brother. Which one is the that you're talking about?
I got it.
Give me a second.
Ask yourself a very simple Q. With the fake news media and other controlled assets, it spanned this amount of time and resource attacking, attempt to discredit, cast as conspiracy, LARP, in the kill box. This movement, if it did not pose a significant threat, danger in the kill box, you attack those who threaten you the most. Logical thinking, Q. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. And one of my mods from my channel, Patrick, he had actually texted me earlier saying, I think it's 20 days, if I'm not mistaken, 20 days tomorrow that Q hasn't posted. And, it could be the DJT 41020 deal. So hopefully maybe we'll get a post from him. I was hoping possibly today on President Trump's birthday. But I think we've progressed so much that I think we're doing exactly what he wants. He wants everybody to be on everything. Anytime any reports come out, we're digging on it. We have a really good network of a lot of patriots on YouTube and Twitter that are just getting down to the nitty gritty on every little story that comes out. And I really think that's what, his goal was, to bring us all together and get all this information out. I think everybody's doing a hell of a job of it too.
I tend to agree with you there, Spaceshot. Now, Hulk just sent this over from the Gateway Pundit. There's a report that House GOP leadership is saying that the FBI director currently, Christopher Wray, is not cooperating with Barr's Spygate investigation. Now, this is not the first time we've heard it, but this is the first time that it's been claimed that he's actually burying documents.
Well, okay, so this is our second person that's come up there, because we talked about Pence yesterday, and look, talked about Ray, because I think that he was a fence rider, and I had mentioned last night in the beginning when Barr is being testifying, and that spying did occur, and they went to Ray, and Ray said, "Oh no, I wouldn't classify it as that." I'm thinking, wait, we heard trust. Wait, what's really going on here? And I really think he's a fence rider.
Yeah, I was personally on the fence about Ray. I figured that if President Trump had put him into that position, that's why we were being told to trust him. Because whatever, his personal stance was, he must have been useful in some way. Well, maybe he's useful along the lines of he's just another person like Comey, and it's just going to point out, how bad the corruption is at the FBI, and it's going to force President Trump to put somebody in there who is going to be a lot less palatable to Democrats in Congress, maybe a little bit harder to get confirmed, but somebody that is really going to go after the swamp like we need them to.
About like Trey Gowdy.
I would
the
love
only
it.
reason, yeah, right. The only reason I say that is because we had a post previous, right, saying that why is Gowdy stepping down? No need to resign if he's testifying. Future role for Gowdy. So he's been, by all accounts, he's just been a pundit on Fox, and I don't know if he's really doing anything on his personal life. But I would be signed up for that. That would be absolutely great.
You said that a year ago, Mike, remember, about Trey Gowdy on a podcast we did? That podcast where you were in your car and you spilled your tea. You were talking about that same thing a year ago.
Oh, yeah, I believe that was the night that I'm sitting in my car on a live stream, and a cop drove by and literally just walked up to my car and opened my passenger door, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, that was ridiculous. But yeah, I think there's going to be another role for Gowdy going forward. He just, he has all that intelligence, like he has all the information, and we see the difference, right? And to add to what I was saying earlier about people that are the loudest, we had Maher come out, and who do we have also today? We had Mark Warner, right? And we have obviously Shifty Pencil Neck Schiff, always talking crap. And why are these two guys important? Because they were in the Gang of Eight and they knew everything. And as much as they say that, oh, well, Comey didn't report this stuff to the Gang of Eight, I guarantee you they knew everything about it.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way that they didn't. Real quick, I just need to say thank you to Phil B. Me Too. They said these candidates are only there to scare the moderate Dem base. Hillary's going to run. Watch. It wouldn't surprise me if Hillary ran again, but I think she's toxic, and I think that it's assured destruction if she does. Texas Girl USA said, can we lobby to get Sidney Powell and Trey Gowdy on the prosecution team? Well, we know that Sidney Powell is busy with representing General Flynn. I would have no problem with seeing her on, in a U.S. attorney position, but I think that she's, just private. Trey Gowdy, I feel like there has to be something there more for him. I just did not see him leaving public service and just becoming a talking head. I'm sure that, he's having a good time over at Fox, but Trey Gowdy screams to me somebody that needs to be in some form of public service. And he said himself that he was going to be doing something, but he did stipulate that it was going to be in the private sector. Now, also, God's Guy, welcome, God's Guy. He said, love you guys. Don't forget, Happy Father's Day. God, we love you. Thank you. And then Puggy's number 2 frog said, munching popcorn. That's right.
And I was just going to say about Trey that, when he left, he said he wanted to go back to law or the judiciary side. And I believe 100% that military tribunals are ongoing, folks. Yes, they are going. If he's involved in there or not, it'd be quite interesting. I know he's seen a lot, but if I'm going through the list of players on the top of my head that have possibly gone through that, we already talked about McCain. Bush Sr. Was HRC's brother Tony taken through that system itself. I don't know. It seems things to line up because those posts all seem to have those dog references again, but just things I've been throwing around in my head.
And who's some people we haven't really seen a few people posting too much on Twitter, like Comey. I think the last post he had was like 6 days ago. Does he know the end is up? Is he gone off, or is he on one of his little expeditions? We're going to see him off in the forest staring at the top of the trees again or something. Where are these people? Some of these people. And actually, guys, did you hear the other day that, and who knows if this is bullcrap, Ruth Bader Ginsburg gives props to Kavanaugh for hiring an all-female law clerks. So I wonder if that's if they tap through the ice to get that, if she maybe did like Morse code on the ice, who knows?
Well, just to make a comment about your picture about Comey, I really think his next one is going to be out in the forest, in the trees, and the sun shining through, and him looking down at a pile of bear.
Yeah, I don't think RBG. Where is she? Anybody know? Wonder if Biden knows. Maybe they go to the same plastic surgery.
Well, I think her doctor diagnosed her with rigor mortis, so.
I really can't see Ruth Bader Ginsburg as doing much but warming a bedpan at this point if she is above ground.
I think they go to the same taxidermist.
When was that date that we got that Fox quick screen about RBG's death? What date was that? Was that in January?
I can pull up my videos here and tell you exactly when that was, because I was watching. That was great. That was great to see that happen.
Yeah, and how does something like that happen, right? I do believe it was January, but how does a mistake like that happen on, it was Fox, if I'm not mistaken, right? You have a screenshot come through saying, rest in peace, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Whoops. Well, how the heck did that happen? Like, that's not just like a mistake, like, oh, I hit a button. No, somebody had to make that graphic. Anybody, all of us content creators, you don't just like say, oh, I'd like to have this on the screen, boom, and it's there. You actually have to make the graphic. You have to load it into the computer, then you have to flip it on. So there have to be a multitude of mistakes to have that come on the screen,
Well, just from my understanding of broadcast journalism, I mean, everybody was expecting Ruth Bader Ginsburg to die. So, I think that they had that on deck because they really did believe that she was going to die. So then what they do is, like here on my system, I've got 3 different monitors, and so I'm going back and forth between them, but in news, if they think that something is going to happen, I think that they just prepare it ahead of time, and somebody was probably being cute, and I think it could have happened accidentally, but they definitely were anticipating her death. That was on January 21st.
Dude, 3? You got like 4 or 5. I mean,
well, I've
your
got
setup
3 for
looks like NASA, bro.
I've
It
got
looks
3
like
for
NASA.
3 for content and then 1 for control. How about this, you
And
guys?
I was thinking about.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I was thinking about the whole State of the Union, because that was after that we saw that Fox thing came up, and I'm like, well, dude, the State of the Union's coming up here shortly. I mean, normally all the justices, they're supposed to show up there and support the president and stuff. And I go, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to feel uncomfortable when they wheel a coffin into the freaking State of the Union.
How about this, you guys? Nunes says that he has finally seen the Rosenstein scope memo, and it was certainly based on the Steele dossier.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. That's all sorts of bad news for them. And you know what? I mean, I hate to say it, but we've basically known that. I mean, it's kind of getting sickening, right? Because we're learning all these things 6-8 months ahead of time, and when it finally comes to fruition on mainstream news, it's almost like nothing's happening because we were already told about it. But it is progress when we're starting to see it, talked about on the news.
Yeah, it's great to actually be able to see it, But I mean, again, it's a bit of a letdown for us, you guys, because we've been following this stuff. We already knew that this was coming, but you got to think about how many people are out there in America that don't have the benefit of the foresight that we do, because we're doing all this digging. We have this direct connection where we're following the research, and we see it happen. But Nunes has said, because ultimately that Steele dossier permeated all the way through, ultimately to the special counsel. And I'll just close with this tonight. That is, I was finally able to see the scope memo, and remember, I had these concerns that it was based upon the Steele dossier. And look, I can't talk about what was in there, but we know from the Mueller report or from what Judge Sullivan put out that it was probably largely based on the Steele dossier. So he's tacitly admitting right there that yes, it was definitely based on the Steele dossier. And then for everyone who was wondering if you didn't see that on January 21st, there is the beautiful graphic that was made by the art department at Fox News, Fox and Friends. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen on live television ever.
Yeah.
The question is, how many hammers is Hillary going to buy Bill this year for Father's Day?
She's going to buy him a big package of rope, too.
So in regards to your Nunez thing here, because we had talked about the Mueller report, and as far as I know, in that first part of that volume 1, they saying that they based their whole investigation on the Steele dossier. That was the actual proof of what they actually started that whole investigation with.
That's right.
Yeah. If you notice too, Nunes, what has he been calling the Mueller report? He's been calling it the Mueller dossier.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys. Well, we got about 8 minutes left. I've got several other stories here that I wanted to touch on real quick. Actually, let me go back on that Mark Meadows story. I wanted to give the quote that Mark had said regarding the indictments. Sean, we're getting a lot of whistleblowers. Primarily, the whistleblowers are coming forward because they believe Attorney General Bill Barr and John Durham are willing to get to the bottom of it. People that were perhaps afraid under previous leadership to actually say that, well, we knew this was wrong. They're coming forward now. I think that is incredible. Oh, and he ends with this. People need to go to jail. People need to be held accountable, and I believe indictments are on the way. Mark Meadows is speaking directly to us, guys. He is giving us everything that we need to know. For everybody who's saying now, just remember, it takes time to build a case. And people like John Durham, they don't do it lightly, and they don't look to lose.
Yeah, and I've said this a few times over the past year or so, that, in regards to what you're saying about it taking time, say if I got into a fight here or something and I got arrested on like an assault and battery or something, I'll get processed, I'll make bail or whatever. I'm not going back to court for probably a month, 2, 3 months perhaps. And that's a simple, assault and battery case. These court systems are so backed up at, these major crimes. And then you have to think, it's not just like one little thing. I mean, on this Pfizer deal, it's that, but there's so many different areas that these people are guilty of committing crimes in that it's disgusting, and there's no way it's going to be an overnight prosecution. And this guy Durham, from all accounts, is an absolute no nonsense straight shooter, and he's going to put it to him.
All right, next, you guys, Valerie Jarrett is out doing the circuit, and she's talking, I believe, about President Trump saying that he would, perhaps take a look at opposition research from a foreign country. And the Democrats just went nuts when he said that, and Mike, like you were saying earlier in the program, President Trump is simply calling attention to the things that the Democrats have done in the past. How can they be outraged when the entire basis of their argument is about opposition research that might have been paid for by Hillary Clinton, but it was produced by a foreign agent of another country, Christopher Steele. So the idea that Valerie Jarrett, she says, why would we want anyone to put their thumb on the scale of influence in an election? Again, clearly, this comes after the former president's deep state used foreign intel services to spy on President Trump, and the British created Hillary Clinton-funded junk dossier to spy on Trump and his campaign. It's just incredible. He's got them coming out and decrying the things that they have actually done in the past. So they're basically saying that this is a bad idea. Well, it's already been proven that that's what they did. So it's an open and shut case.
Well, you would think she wouldn't have a problem with it, seeing that she's a Muslim agent of Saudi Arabia, and furthermore, how, people like Brennan and obviously Obama, right? They get the presidential daily briefings, or Obama would get a presidential daily briefing even after he's out of office, which I don't care who it is. Even President Trump, when he's out of office, I don't think any president should be getting briefings after they're in office. And what it was alleged, and come to find out it was true, was that Valerie Jarrett was actually living in Obama's house where that presidential daily briefing was being sent every day. And she was getting that same intel, or hopefully not the same intel, that President Trump was getting. So, yeah, they're dirty, 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 and it needs to stop for sure.
Brennan would make a puppy cry. I really think. Anyway, real quick, you're so right. Are these people crazy? And big shout out to True Reporting. Thomas is in the house.
Thomas. Thomas.
Yes, sir. Here's a good one, Red Pill, real quick. O'Dork is back in the news, saying that the Trump administration is gunning for war with Iran. It's like, hello, can you say scary Kerry and the loads of money and et cetera? What are you kidding me?
Yeah, clearly the deep state is trying to push us into a conflict in Iran. And, what was it? Pompeo, he had a press conference the other day, and he showed evidence that the Iranian Navy was out there scraping mines off the hull of that ship that didn't explode, and they can tell by looking at it that it is an Iranian mine, a magnetic mine.
Yeah, and that's too. I wouldn't put it past, we're only hearing reports of this stuff, right? So, the Gulf of Tonkin, what was it, the USS Liberty? These were done, by supposed allies of us, or supposed to be our strongest allies. So who knows who really did this? But I agree with you. The deep state is trying to push us into a conflict with Iran, and basically trying to do anything they can to make President Trump look bad.
Yeah, let's look at the history, Mike. We talked about this the other day. Look at the start of all the, world wars, the Lusitania. You can even go on for days with this, but yeah, Gulf of Tonkin, the USS Liberty. Just go do your research, folks, and read some of this stuff. the transcripts of the deep state, it's always the same playbook. They're like the, best loser that continues to use the same exact playbook. It's ridiculous.
And we have President Trump talking about the Democrats' playbook. You gotta love it, I mean, every time President Trump opens his mouth, and it's getting more explicit. I think he continues to give us clues, pointing us towards the fact that this stuff is taking place. I have to imagine that that President Trump and Mark Meadows had some type of a conversation before he went out there and just starts talking about the fact that indictments are going to take place. We know that President Trump is tight with the Freedom Caucus.
Oh, yeah. Q said, think Freedom Caucus. Yep. They all have his back for sure.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, it is 11:59. I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to go around the table and tell our audience where they can find you and anything else that you want to leave with tonight, you guys. Let's start with Matthew at Truth Not Fiction Matters.
Okay, well, I want to thank you, RedPill78, for what you do in all the Anons, methods, Thomas with True Reporting. And it's really simple. Mike and I go back almost 2 years now, and I want to thank Hulk over at Patriot News. You can find me at truthnotfictionmatters.com. But folks, I want you to remember something closing out tonight. Don't mean to be long-winded, but it needs to be said. It's good versus evil. Patriots need to stand up and fight like they haven't fought before. Support the president, and God will win. And again, RedPill78, you're awesome. Keep up the great work. We love you, brother. You're making a huge difference.
Thank you, Matthew. Hulkanator.
Thank you, sir. Yes, you can find me and a bunch of the other Anons that we've been together for a year and a half over at Patriot News. If you've been following us since True Lies and QNN, it's that same basic group. We're still here. To let you all know, we have a dual Discord. We do have a public one for all you guys. So if you like to dig on some news and talk to other Anons, because you've already driven your significant other up the wall and neighbors won't talk to you anymore because your tinfoil hat's too big, we've got a place for you. So if you go over to Patriot News, any one of the videos in there will have a link for the Discord for Patriot Land. We meet 3 days a week. It's at 6 o'clock Eastern, or I think it's 7 Eastern. But we meet Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we get together and we all talk over there in Discord. So you guys are all welcome to come on over. Also, Wednesday, I believe, is when we do our prayer group. So you guys can come over and hang out with a couple of the pastors that we have with the group itself. You guys are always welcome. There is also a backup archive of the Table of Titans stuff, just in case something happens. Go search for Table of Titans, Hulkanator. You will find it. It's got all the shows over there, and there are 2 lost episodes of Table of Titans from the very beginning out on that channel if you go find them over there. So thank you guys. I really appreciate Red Pill, Spaceshot, TNFM. It's really good to be with a group, same group of guys for a long time going through this movement, because we've seen a lot of disinfo and we've seen a lot of shills come in and go. But I'm glad that we've really found some great people to hang out with. So I greatly appreciate you guys for having me on tonight. And Table of Titans, Thursdays, it's going to be 6:30. That's Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. Thursday at Patriot News.
Thank you so much, Hulkanator. And Spaceshot.
Ooh, thank you, my man. You can catch me in the club. Now, you guys, you can catch me on YouTube. Obviously, I'll be on Twitter. And much respect to my brother, Red Pill. Great to see how good he's doing here. Sorry, guys. Putting out great content on the daily, doing these live streams on the weekends, bringing a lot of great guests in together. Just really great to be part of this. And all of us Patriots need to stick together. And this is my core group, my crew, I guess you want to call it. My most trusted social media allies and personal friends here. So I appreciate you guys all tuning in and listening with us tonight. Peace out.
All right. I just want to say before we go, thank you so much to my panel for tonight, Hulkanator, Spaceshot, Truth Not Fiction Matters. All of you guys are brothers, and I would not be here if it was not for you guys, because you paved the way. So thank you so much for all the work that all of you do. It's very much appreciated. Just need to do a couple of quick thank yous before we sign off. Tammy Eaton, she said, way to go, Brett. Dirtnap Ruthie. Crunch and Munch said, keep up the good work. Jeff Stewart said, good show. Sandy Zeiss said, great show. Where we go one, we go all. And finally, Tammy Eaton says, regarding former Senator Colin Smith, search Nancy Schaefer. Nancy Schaefer, if I'm not mistaken, was a state rep from Georgia who was murdered after her investigation into Child Protective Services. We'll go ahead and check that out possibly for the next broadcast. You guys make sure you're back here tomorrow at the regularly scheduled time. Fridays are now 10 o'clock. Saturdays are now 9 o'clock. Tomorrow, my guest is going to be Sean Brooks, the American Patriot who was doxxed by Facebook and the Daily Beast. It's a pre-recorded show, but I go through a bunch of stuff. I got about an hour interview with Sean, and then I talk about some stuff before and after, and I'll be there in the chat with you guys. We're going to be premiering it at 9 p.m. tomorrow. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. As always, this has been RedPill78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News for Friday Night Livestream. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.